So as our lighting system gets more and more sophisticated, now we start to route our DMX signal to all of the devices that we need. So we come out of our light board into our dimmer rack or dimmer pack, which then feeds circuits that go out and run all of our incandescent lighting fixtures, just like what we did before. Most dimming systems, nearly all dimming systems, occupy the lowest numbers in a DMX universe, so that dimmer 1 corresponds to circuit 1 within the theater. So our dimmer rack may be circuits 1 through 24, and then we send DMX out of that dimmer rack up to the stage, right, to where it can control moving lights or LEDs. And again, we're able to just daisy chain our DMX in and out of all of the fixtures, right, to make a complete DMX path. Now, our starting address for our first moving light is going to need to be above, higher than, whatever our last dimmer is. So if we have 24 dimmers in this dimmer pack, the first available address for our moving light is going to be 25. Now, moving lights may take a lot of DMX addresses. They may take 12 or 15 or 30 or 40, and some moving lights even take 50 and 60 DMX addresses each, right? And so if this one is at 25, our next one may need to be at 75, and our next one at 125, and the next one at 150, right? Our LEDs may not need as many addresses. Maybe they only need 6 or 10 addresses each. And so then we could skip by tens, right, for each one of our LED fixtures until everything has its own unique address and none of its following addresses overlap one another, right? So let's go back and look at our universe, right? So we looked at the patching for universe 1. But what happens if we have fixtures in multiple locations, or we run out of addresses, or we've exceed the number of devices that we can put, right? So lighting manufacturers allocate or have built in the idea that we can have multiple DMX universes. So I can have universe 1, which we've talked about. So start address of 1, start address of 4, start address of 21, start address of 81, and these fixtures are now daisy chained together. The top row here might be front of house or backstage on the floor, or somewhere that it's difficult for us to plug this last fixture into this first one, and it may be easier just to run a new wire, a second DMX output. That second DMX output is referred to as a universe, right? We run a second DMX cable to that, right? And it then daisy chain down the line of those devices. Now, here's where things get a little tricky. The light board wants to control each one of these independently, right? So the light board is going to think of this address for this first fixture as the next available address on the next universe, which would be 513. It's going to think of that as 513. If I give this now a starting address of 1, it will listen to address 1 of universe 2. And that's often written this way. Universe 2, address 1. This is universe 2, address 5. This is universe 2, address 11. Universe 2, address 15, right? So this now is going to, the light board is going to be sending signals out to 513, which correspond to the second universe, the first address. Remember, DMX is 512. So the next available address is 513. If we were to skip up 5, right, for our next fixture, it's going to be address 517 as far as the light board is concerned. But the fixture is going to be set to a starting address of 5. The next fixture has a starting address of 11, and for the light board to control it on universe 2, it's going to send out information to address 523, which means it's on the second output and address 11. And we carry on, right? So that's 2 universes. We're allowed many universes. Most light boards are able to support 4 universes, or up to 2,048 addresses. And that is as far as the light board is concerned. Remember though, our first universe is listening. The devices, the mailboxes, are set from 1 to 512 so that they listen along that path. Universe 2, the devices, you could think of it as another street that has new street numbers on it, but they are also 1 through 512. Our third universe is another street, but it has the same numbers on it, 1 through 512. And whatever information we send down that street is going to be delivered to the starting addresses or the mailbox addresses along each road, along each street, right? So you can think that 4 universes are quite a lot. There are a lot of shows out there that use many, many more. Some shows are using 40, 50, 60 universes, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of addresses to control information. The light lab that we work in is capable of producing 12 universes, and there are up to I think 18 universes in the Fallon and 4 universes in the lab theater. So this is a little bit about DMX. Just remember that each universe has its own set of 1 to 512 addresses, and that we can never address a lighting fixture. Its start address can never be greater than 512. It has to remain below 512, even though the light board thinks of them in much larger numbers, right? So we'll finish up DMX a little bit with some of the specifications, right? We talked about 1,000 meters as its maximum length. It is very reliable and very robust. DMX often needs a termination so that when we would get to the end of a DMX path, we would want to put in a terminator, right? Which just helps cut down on signal interference. And this is a wiring diagram for a 3-pin and a 5-pin terminator. They're very simple to make. Typically, and by DMX standards, we're only allowed to plug in 26 different devices per universe. So even if I had 26 different pieces of equipment and they only required 1 address each, we were only using 26 addresses of that DMX path. We should still stop putting equipment on that DMX path and then begin another universe. DMX twofers are not allowed. We cannot split DMX signal through a simple wiring or a Y adapter. This is not allowed. It's bad. What we have to do is get a specialized DMX splitter, right? So this allows DMX to come in and then generates 5 outputs for it. This one has an input on this side and then has 4 outputs on this side. We need a specialized DMX splitter if we want to split DMX into a single universe into multiple paths. So by putting DMX into either one of these devices, we'll replicate universe 1. This one will replicate it 5 times. This replicates it 4 times, right? So this replicates a single universe into multiple outputs, which can be really handy. And that concludes Simple Lighting System and DMX.